Superhot Mind Control Delete launches on July 16th, free to everyone who already owns Superhot. A Steam key was provided by PR for the purposes of this review. There haven't been many indie games this past decade that have nailed their concept quite as well as 2016's Superhot, one of the most innovative shooters in years. Time speeds up when you move, leading to rooms becoming violent puzzles as you look to clear every red guy standing in your way. Backed by a quietly excellent story about the dangers of immersive technology, it's a game with almost infinite replayability, especially if you're dashing around and slicing heads in its VR version. Superhot Mind Control Delete is the follow-up to that madness, a standalone game that maintains the empowering spirit while also adding some roguelike elements on top of new powers and scenarios. It's not quite a full-fledged sequel, instead being a continuation of the first game where you try to stop being assimilated by an AI, all while enjoying the new skills said AI gives you. The main hook of Superhot remains as potent and addictive as ever. Even though I've already played Superhot to death on Xbox One and Switch, as well as a worrying amount of time in VR via PlayStation VR, the bullet time brilliance never really gets old for me. Enemies move very slowly while you are static before speeding up when you do anything, making each level feel like a chessboard in slow motion. It takes a minute to get used to and understand the beats of the action, but it's hard to step back once you do, dashing around after planning a digital murder spree way in advance. Where Mind Control Delete changes things up most dramatically is in the new skills it gives you, coming mainly in the form of cores. These cores mix things up in a huge way, each basically acting as a different superpower that you need to tactically use due to their cooldown. Charge pretty much teleports you to an enemy and punches them in the face, Recall lets you return a thrown katana to your hand, Hot Switch returns from the original and sees you changing bodies with a red guy, while More gives you more hots to get through the gauntlet of levels with. In perhaps the most substantial change from the formula, Superhot Mind Control Delete isn't a one-hit kill game for everyone involved anymore. You are given 2 hearts by default to make your way through a series of levels in a node with, and should you fail, you will then have to start the gauntlet all over, this time with different levels. While the extra comfort blanket might sound like it makes the game easier, it really doesn't when these gauntlets get longer and with wilder stipulations than the original. It's more than a little tense when you're crawling your way to the finish line of an especially long node with just 1 heart left. Luckily for you though, random hacks appear at random intervals throughout nodes, and they range from simply refilling your hearts right the way back up to completely changing the effectiveness of your cores. For Recall, the best core of the lot without a doubt, you can unlock a hack that will send your katana hurtling through multiple enemies, while another hack lets you recall the katana while striking every red guy on its way back to your hand, and yes, that is as cool as it sounds. It's hard to describe just how satisfying the katana is to use in Mind Control Delete, especially when you have a bevy of hacks backing it up. But I can show you. The other cores aren't slouches either, though I must admit that I wasn't too keen on Charge overall, it requiring a lot of foresight so you don't teleport into a bad situation. Charge also needs hacks to make it an equally viable core, you eventually being able to zip around multiple times with the same usage. Hot Switch meanwhile remains as brilliant as ever, it allowing you to reposition while also adding to your kill tally, and similarly to Charge, you're also able to hopscotch between targets in quick succession with the right hacks. How these hacks impact your cores is brilliant and varies up the gameplay immensely, but they aren't created equally. There are some hacks, such as the ability to make throwable items explode, that are more of a liability than anything, or at least nowhere near as useful. Comfortably, the best of the lot is Kill Heal, which gives you additional hearts for killing a set amount of enemies. It can be a little frustrating to have a very underwhelming hack, like a stronger throwing arm instead of the likes of Kill Heal, but this bad luck is hardly uncommon for roguelikes. It's also a large part of what makes them compelling, all the pieces of a run finally falling into place after earlier luck-based frustration. You'll also need to adapt your playstyle to take on the different enemies the game throws at you. They're still fundamentally red dudes with bad attitudes that need an exploding, but certain enemies now only have specific weak points, such as an arm or leg, meaning that you have to either be very accurate or get close to batter that weak point. Trickier still are the enemies with spikes who implode and hail a bullet upon death, meaning that you may end up losing a precious heart. There's a way to position yourself for the kill so that the implosions will work in your favour and actually kill more of their red friends, but it's always a heart in mouth moment when they show up. Even more terrifying are the boss characters who randomly appear, announced by a discomforting digital battle cry. These are, I think, supposed to be viruses born from your broken psyche, and they can very easily break your good run too. These little bastards cannot be damaged and hound you throughout an entire level, not unlike the omnipotent Mr. X. Their appearance means you have to constantly be on the move even more than before and staying out of their line of sight, which, when coupled with a low amount of hearts and the regular and irregular enemies, ratchets the stress levels right up. There's a freaky human dog kind of guy who jumps on top of you and tries to eat your heart off. There's another dude with an assault rifle or a similar gun who seems to have an aimbot because he always seems to hit you somehow. And of course there's another guy with a katana who loves to chuck it at you and ruin your run. While I was always terrified when these guys showed up, I did appreciate when they did because it stopped me from getting complacent. It's always adding new things to the pie. Even though I've played Endless Mode for dozens of hours on Xbox One and other platforms, I was still pretty challenged here in Mind Control Delete. However, if you're worried that all of this takes away from the wonderfully simple essence of Superhot, don't be. It's still as approachable and enjoyable as ever. Playing on PC, all you need is the mouse buttons, WASD, and E for special skills. That's all there is to it. For the purists out there, you eventually unlock the ability to tackle levels without any cores or hacks, but for me this added depth does for Superhot what Doom Eternal did compared to Doom 2016. You feel like a much more capable killing machine than ever, and the sensation of mowing down red guys in increasingly more stylish ways never stops feeling rewarding. In fact, as I was typing this review up, I jumped into Endless Mode to quickly refresh my memory and ended up, almost 1 hour later, battling past over 300 enemies. Endless is just one of the extra things to play once you've sliced and shot your way through all of Mind Control Delete's story, which is significantly longer than the first game. It took me around 12 hours in total to see the credits roll, which is a massive step up from the 2 to 3 hours of what came before. The narrative is still as vague as ever and seems to be one that's open for interpretation, though with a bit of a wackier structure than previously, if you can believe that. Unless I am missing something completely obvious, the game asks you to just kind of sit and wait for 7 hours after the credits roll before you can start playing again. I kind of get what they were going for here, that you should probably go and do something else and that, your character is addicted to the game and maybe so are you, so maybe stop that. But it's just about the oddest design decision I've ever seen. Still, despite that complaint, Mind Control Delete takes what made the first game such a revelation and adds more cherries on top, providing one of the most innovative shooters in the years since Superhot's release. Chuck in the fact that it's totally free to those who previously purchased Superhot on PC, PS4 and Xbox One, and you have an irresistible power trip that's one of the best games of the year. 9 out of 10. Superhot Mind Control Delete takes the bullet time brilliance of its predecessor and adds many new toys to its violent chessboard to even more thrilling effect. So there you are then, there's my quick opinions on Superhot Mind Control Delete. Will you be interested in picking up this game? Be sure to let me know be sure to let me know down in the comments below, and thank you for watching, and be sure to give me a like and subscribe. A subscribe, whatever, James.